Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be chatting through my best books I read in December. This video is coming out a little late, but I also like giving myself some more time to think about the books that I read in the previous month and give myself time to develop my thoughts if I change my mind on any of these books. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I only have 4 books to talk about in this video, so I imagine this video will be pretty quick and snappy, but the first book that I have to talk about is Holly by Stephen King. This is a book I read for the Goodreads Choice Awards video that I did, so I will leave that linked up above if you'd like to go check it out. So this is actually the 3rd book in a series, which at the time of making that video I thought was really strange. I still think it's really strange to count that as a series because it's really not, I don't think, but in this book, we follow our main character, Holly, who is from the Mr. Mercedes series. So if you want to read Holly, I would definitely recommend reading the Mr. Mercedes series because otherwise it will spoil you for that. So definitely read that beforehand if you want to read that story. I would really recommend it because the Mr. Mercedes books, I read the first one and Finders Keepers, I think. I'm looking over there because that's where it's at. But I love those 2 books. I read them on vacation years ago and I loved them so much. So definitely recommend them. They're real good. But back to Holly. I really loved following Holly. As I started reading that book, I started to remember more about Holly, and she was definitely my favorite character from that series, and it was really fun following just her in this book. So this book starts off with a bang. So within the first chapter, we are following this professor, and they see this older couple struggling on the side of the road trying to get their wheelchair into their accessible van, and the couple said that their battery died for the lift for their van, so they can't get it in, and they're really struggling. So the guy's like, oh yeah, let me just help you. So he helps them, and he feels something on the back of his neck. He's like, oh, that was strange. And then he wakes up in a basement. And things go from there. It gets really disgusting. It gets really disgusting towards the end of the book when things start to get revealed. So definitely look into the content warnings. They could be potentially spoilery, so definitely look into that as well. But it was a very compulsive read for me. But it also had some moments that were a little distracting for me. There was a lot of talk about real life things that were pulling me out of the story because I'm this actually happened? It just was a little distracting to me. So for an example, it focuses a lot on events with COVID and Trump and stating lots of opinions on those things. And it just was a little distracting for me because I'm what? It just hit a little too close to reality for me because, I don't love a dose of reality with my fiction personally. So it was not my favorite thing when that happened, but the overall story was quite enjoyable. It was a really fast read and I had a really hard time not reading it. It was just very compulsive. So I think I gave this one 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. So if you have read the Mr. Mercedes books, I would definitely recommend this one. And even if you haven't, read it. They're so good. The next book is The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. I am still thinking about this book, and I read this a solid month ago, and it's a Christmas romance. What the heck? But there's just something about this book that just really struck a chord with me. So from what I remember from a month ago, we follow our main character working at this bookshop with her enemy. Yeah, that's not happening for long, but I don't really remember much of the plot, to be honest. I just remember how much I loved the characters. I read this book in one sitting. I had the best time with it. It was so good. And the thing that really brought this home for me as being a 5-star read is our main character. I really connected with her on so many different things. She would bring a change of clothes if her current clothes started to bug her later in the day, and she brought headphones with her everywhere in case the environment around her got too overstimulating, and I just connected with her so much on stuff like that, and I really just adored her character so much, and the romance was great. So definitely going to be reading more from Chloe Leese because I loved the representation she had in here. And in the back of the book, it also said that she had readers read this book before it was released to make sure everything read okay. So she definitely did the work with this book, and I can see it, and I loved it. So this was a 5-star romance for me, which does not happen very often, but I absolutely adored it. I would highly recommend. It was so perfect. The next book I have to talk about is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, and I have said this many a time, and I will say it again. I really wish this book came out first because it just felt incredibly predictable reading this book after reading Legends and Lattes, because in this book we follow our same character from Legends and Lattes. I'm forgetting her name as per usual, but we're following her before the events of Legends and Lattes, and you know what's going to happen if you've read Legends and Lattes. So it just was a little annoying to me that this came out second, because we really needed this one first, I think. So if you haven't read the first book, Legends and Lattes, I'm so sorry I've said that so many times, but if you haven't read that one yet, I would highly recommend you read this one first, because you're going to enjoy it so much more, because I found this one a little difficult to connect with the characters with, because I knew they weren't going to come into book 1. So it was good. I mean, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars because I do love this world and these characters and the atmosphere that Travis Baldree creates, but it did let me down a little bit that it came out secondary, but it's still super fun, would still definitely recommend, and I just love this series, and I really hope he keeps writing more because I'm obsessed. The last book I have to talk about in this video, yeah, this is really short video, I'm so sorry, but the last book I want to talk about is Vampires of El Norte. I loved this one. So this is also for my Goodreads video challenge that I did. So again, that video will be linked up above if you'd like to go check it out. That was a huge project for me. I can't believe I got that done. So in this book, we follow our main character, Nena, if I'm remembering correctly. Honestly, it's been a couple months now since I've read this, but I loved this book. And so Nena and her best friend Nestor lived in the same like ranch area, and their families have these big ranches that they have crops on and animals, and they are able to fully sustain themselves with what they have. And at the beginning of the book, something tragic happens to Nena that Nestor believes that she has died. She was attacked by some creature that attacked her neck, and he assumes that she has died. He takes her to her family's house. She's not moving, she's not breathing, and he just can't imagine being in a world without her. So he runs away and disappears. Well, Nena survives that, and 9 years later, she's still alive. Nestor is summoned back to the ranch to help fight against the colonists who are trying to invade their ranch, and so he comes back to help Nena's father, and Nena is shocked that he's alive, he's shocked that she's alive, but yet, during those 9 years, they are still pining for one another. Like, the pining in this book is incredible. So if you like a book with lots of pining, highly recommend. I didn't know that I would love a book with so much pining, but I guess I love that because I loved this. So the writing is also just wonderfully captivating, and I just didn't want to stop reading it. The audiobook was also incredible. I believe, if I remember correctly, there was 2 different narrators, which love to see it. There's also like 2 different kinds of vampires in this book, which I thought was really interesting. It's definitely a different take on vampires, but done in a very good way, I think. So I don't want to get too far into what the vampires are, but there's like 2 different kinds, and they aren't, like, one of them is not really explained, and I really wish it was. Like, I wish we delved a little bit deeper into them, like where they came from, what they are, whatever. So we don't get much explanation about them. I think the story is mainly about Nena and Nestor, and it is so good. So I also gotta say, chapter 15 of this book is one of the best action scenes I have ever read in a book ever. Like, I could see that entire chapter playing out in my head like a movie, which doesn't happen very often, to be honest. Like, I try to envision as much as I can while reading books, but that chapter, I could just see it in my mind the whole time. And it also kind of reminded me of Spirit, the horse movie. If y'all have seen that, classic. But I don't know why, like, I could just see it like as if it was in Spirit. Like, it was just so good. It was so good. So I give this book a very glowing 4-star review. Would highly recommend. It was absolutely incredible. It was so good, and I loved it. So those are all the books that I have recently given 4 and 5 stars for December. I do want to say I do plan on talking about the books that I have rated 1, 2, and 3 stars as well. So I'm gonna do like a mid-year video tier ranking all the books that I have rated 1, 2, and 3 stars for 2024. So don't worry, like, I will be giving somewhat reviews for those books, but I really want to focus my wrap-ups on the best of the best books because it makes me more excited to film the video. But I will be doing a mid-year video talking about all my 3, 2, and 1 star reads, and it's gonna be fun. So it's gonna be a little tier ranking video, so that should be fun. So that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you all in another video soon. Goodbye!